All right, we are live with Alicia Michilli.
What's up?
Alicia is a badass in town and has a lot of experiences as a singer, songwriter, and is on her trajectory up currently with some fun things we'll talk about. But my favorite part about Alicia is that our conversations are always fascinating, interesting, and go in directions that I don't plan on going, but I'm going to try to keep the ship righted today.
Okay. No veering of any kind.
Of any kind. So we just finished playing some horns on our new record, and she just spent the last, 4 days straight, right?
Yes.
Working with Jim Moose Brown out in the middle of nowhere.
In the literal middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it was a nice drive, though.
Right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Jim did... he wrote a little hit called 5 O'Clock Somewhere.
May have heard of it.
You may have heard it.
Once or twice.
And, yeah. Your studio was really nice.
Yeah,
nonetheless.
he did such a great job.
Yeah, and it was great. He's such
awesome.
a kind dude. Like, he has this production demeanor of... Yeah, it's like an aura around him of peacefulness.
Yes.
Probably because he wrote 5 O'Clock Somewhere.
Right. Just lives in that headspace.
Yeah,
He
but
really
it was...
does, though. Like, every time I have ever seen him or spoke to him or worked with him, he's always... Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to describe it, like this aura of just, like, peace and gratitude and, like, gratefulness. He's, like, smacked by the spirit.
Yeah, and he definitely allows... I mean, you can tell he has an incredible amount of knowledge. I mean, a lot of producers that you walk into and work with, some of the best ones, don't really have, like, the theory thing or the kind of, like, let's break this chord down, let's move here. So it was really cool and refreshing where he's like, hey, I think I need a third in that chord. Hey, I think I need this. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're on that level.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. He is, man. And I think there's something to be said about working with a producer who is also a musician.
Mm-hmm.
Like an actual musician.
And a great musician, too.
Yeah.
So he played piano and guitar with Seeger, right?
Yeah.
With Bob Seeger? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Dude, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely insane.
And tell me again where you met him. You told me the story.
Oh, yeah. I was actually, I don't even know how or why I was at this writer's round, but I think it was at the old listening room.
You mean the old one? Like the
12
8th
times
version
over.
of it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they, I don't even know why I was there. It was some writer round, but I guess our mutual friend Bernie had said, like, oh, hey, you should stick around and, like, listen to this girl, and he did, and we kind of were vibing that we're both from Detroit, and just kind of got to hanging, and I was just like, this dude is awesome.
Yeah.
He's, like, sweet and kind and super cool. Like, you can, like, talk to him about anything. I mean, it's, like, no judgment. He's just super, super laid back and funny.
Mm-hmm.
He's got this alter ego called, oh, God, I'm going to mess this up. Donovan?
Donovan?
It's
All
like
right.
Donovan. Damn, I can't remember the last name. Anyway, I'm going to find this out.
All right.
It's hilarious. He makes these videos of him singing. It's like his alter ego basically is like, those people that are like still waiting on a record deal, and he's like,
got it. Okay.
Man, this year, I'm going to be singing the national anthem at the Preds game, and this is my moment. This is when it's going to happen.
Vince Gill, front row seat. I'm going to look right at him right in the eye, and I'm going to get a record deal.
Yes. Oh man, it is the funniest thing, and he like sings really off key, like just really, really bad. It's so, but he like never breaks character. It's hilarious. He's got like videos with him and Willie Nelson, and he's like, Willie, could you like, I think you better check your key, man. I think you're a little off.
Oh man.
I'm not doing a good job at this, but it's hilarious. You should look it up. They're on YouTube.
It's so interesting I'd imagine somebody like that who's so established and just so at peace because because he can kind of go in whatever direction he wants to go in. It's to have that freedom is, man, that must be super. I mean, he's obviously earned it, but
Oh, definitely.
but yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
The not caring about what people think freedom is pretty incredible.
Yes. Yes. And not having to take on projects that you wouldn't take on if you needed them. Does that make sense? You know, it's like
Yeah.
he's got it's like pure freedom.
So coming out of that thing, I mean, obviously we did some work kind of going into it and kind of fix some of the like trim some of the fat on some of the songs, and I think it, knowing your energy going into it and your energy coming out of it, do you feel like you have something in the can that you're happy with and something that you're like, what is your emotion other than being exhausted and having a voice that's lower than normal because you've been singing so much?
Working on my Billie Holiday.
Nice. You could probably pull that off.
I mean, you know,
if there's anybody that can.
In all the old familiar places.
There it is. There it is.
See you next Thursday.
You're gonna be a star. You're gonna be a star.
Stick with me, kid.
Yeah. What's your overall kind of emotion?
Honestly, I feel so happy.
Happy.
Happy and grateful and excited. Like, I feel like I sound like me, and the songs are super strong, and I just like everything from top to bottom. It was like the seas parted, you know. It was just super. It was like the universe was like, all right, here we go, we're gonna do this, it's gonna be great, and it's all gonna work out. And I think that's the first time, you know, project or really life-wise that's happened like that. So it just
what is your emotion coming out of? I'm kind of on this trip of like capturing moments and putting them into songs and then sealing that moment so that you can look back on that moment and remember that moment.
Yes.
Now what happens, and I don't play my stuff out live, it's mostly just kind of pushed out onto the internet, so it's like I don't get to relive that moment often unless I listen to it.
Right.
But you're about to go, like you're making a record, you're about to play it live, and for those of you that don't know, she's about to go out with Taj Mahal and Ket Mo.
Yes.
And she is going to sing her own songs for every single one of those shows.
Oh man! Well, I wish it was every single one, but it's about 9 of them.
That's a good amount.
It's a good amount. It's like it's pretty great.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
So, as a singer, I mean, you're a guitar player as well, and
Yes.
I'm a writer. But as a singer, it's interesting to me. One of the things I definitely wanted to ask you was, so you capture these moments, and you know, you and I have talked about some of the moments in the songs that matter to you.
Yeah.
Specifically, "Cut Me Loose," which is one of my favorites. Do you go to that place? Like, will you go to that place when you're playing that on stage, or do you? I mean, you're not you're performing.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me when you're a singer to bring out that, like, accessing something.
Right.
Because if you can't access something and something doesn't come across, it's not going to be received.
They won't believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is being able to reach people and touch them, and really, like, honestly, in my opinion, the best compliment is when people come up and are like, dude, I felt that. I believed you. Like, I've been there, and I've felt that, you know, and that to me, like, blows me away. I think that's the coolest thing ever. But yeah, I think there's definitely a level of going to that place, but it's sort of I don't want to say I like relive it, but I definitely sort of like pull from whatever that feeling at the time was, but I also have a barrier around it, because if I go too far back, then it starts to get dark and weird, and that's not good.
Does
because
that?
then it's like,
do you have a detachment? I mean, obviously, you know, we practice whatever we do,
yeah,
so that we don't have to think about what
Exactly.
we do, and we can access those emotions. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, playing a saxophone solo is the same thing. It's kind of, I mean, you're thinking about stuff, but you're more trying to access things and capture the moment, and it's like you practice all these things to forget about those things.
Right.
So as a singer, do you feel like if you get a little too deep emotionally, then your performance starts waning, or do you feel like
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Especially with like the, you know, like the darker stuff or the harder subjects.
Mhm.
You know, like I wrote this song about my grandpa after he passed, and like I love singing it because I like, who hasn't felt
Yeah.
loss in one way or another, right? But it's like, you know, if I go too deep, then I'm just gonna end up like crying throughout the whole thing, and it's gonna sound like shit. So, you know, but I don't know. So I think there's like a level of like protection around it, so that you can actually get through it and like do your job of making it a good performance.
It's such a fascinating thing because being an artist like yourself, and or any type of person that tries to portray an emotion in an instrument, it is a fascinating thing. It's almost like you have to protect your core,
Yes.
so it can't get there.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's yeah. I wonder. I mean, it's got to be like all creativity is kind of like this. I don't really know any other aspects of it other than what we do, but man, always accessing those emotions and
Right.
the drama of those emotions.
Mm.
It's like, how do you? I mean, I'm still working on shutting that down.
Yeah.
When you're not doing it.
Yeah.
But how do you? Because the drama leads to better music. The drama leads
Oh,
to.
definitely.
It
Yeah.
leads to a more of a feeling when you're doing something on a stage.
Absolutely.
It's kind of a bit of a price to pay.
Yeah, definitely. It's sort of almost like chipping away at your innards. You know what I mean? Like no, and you know, I say like I grow up with a barrier, but to be honest, like I definitely think that more often than not, I, you know, fail at that, even though I go in with the intention of protecting
That
myself.
you're going too
but-
far into it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but most of the time it happens anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because it's like that's how you get there, you
Mhm.
know? Like still even to this day, like every time I sing I'd Rather Go Blind, like
Mhm.
I almost end up freaking, you know, army crawling,
Mhm.
sad legs across the floor.
And that's
But-
that's the song that you sang at America's Got Talent, right?
Yeah.
I want to ask you about that. So, tell me again. You made it to the semifinals.
Semifinals.
Right?
Yeah.
You should have won.
Nah.
But probably best you didn't, because
It's
that's a
you
whole
know,
nother thing.
That's a whole nother animal.
Yeah.
Kid.
So let's look at the positive of that, because there's obviously a whole nother side of that too. But the
Yeah.
positive of that is, I mean, when you stood on stage, and who were the judges at the time?
It was Mel B, Howard Stern, Howie Mandel, and Heidi Klum.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you standing up there, I mean, obviously every musician feels nerves, so you
Oh,
probably
yeah.
had a major nervous thing. But I mean, can you access that moment and give me like kind of a feeling of when you're talking and introducing yourself and you're about to go into this thing?
Yeah. Man, speaking of detachment, I honestly, it's really, really weird. Like when I watch those videos or like
Wow.
even try to like access it at all, it's almost as if it like was like a dream. Like I really genuinely don't.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have any sort of like connection to reality in that whole experience. I think because I really had this sense of like protection around my entire being. It was almost like, you know, like it's this is not allowed in. I'm just gonna get through it. I'm gonna like do my job. I'm gonna show up and just do it. Because had I like let it in or thought too hard about it or like, you know, let it
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
let it sink in, I would have been a train wreck.
Yeah.
Easy. Because, you know, that's like it's like so much pressure, even
Yeah.
though
It's not
it's just
pressure. It's
yeah,
just a thing.
It's just a thing.
Yeah.
It's just like another thing that you're
Yeah.
like, how many gigs have I played?
It's just another opportunity.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
sure.
But yeah, so I sort of went into like battle mode of like, well, you don't have time to feel this, man. Just get in there. Do it.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
really interesting way of looking at it. Like, it's
Yeah.
kind of separating yourself and saying, hey, this is going to go how it's going to go. And I'm
Exactly.
going to do my best.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I mean, I've seen you sing. I mean, obviously that performance was incredible, but it definitely felt a little guarded because it's what you're saying is registering with me, because I've seen you on the other side of it where you're saying
Like,
you're accessing yourself.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, damn. All right. And it's so interesting that we have to feel comfortable to get to that place.
Yeah,
you know?
it's crazy. But then again, too, I guess now that I, think about it, is it better to protect oneself and not give it everything, or
Okay.
you know what I'm
I feel
saying?
you on
Like
that.
what, like
Yeah.
because like you said, like it does chip away sort of at you to a certain extent, because you're reliving that pain over and over and over again, and to move on and heal, it's like you're picking the scab basically. So how do you like find that balance of like giving an authentic performance and actually like accessing those emotions without like destroying yourself in the process? Like at what cost are you?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about that a lot. It's when you watch these artists that have been singing these same songs for so many years. I mean, obviously, eventually, I mean, these famous people, it becomes about a paycheck too. I mean,
Right.
there's certain people are going to have to do certain things for so many years. But I guess the question that just popped into my head, if I were to ask you, would it be, what do you love most about performing? Do you like being able to, like, when you sing a song, do you feel like you can put that emotion can you push it away? Or do you like just the sheer act of performing? Like, if you look at those two entities,
That's interesting.
like, which percentage where do you fall?
Yeah. I think in different scenarios it shifts and changes. Like some performances are like purely therapeutic to like get the poison out, basically. And then other times it's like
Either that or get the poison in,
Or
because
get
it
the
can feel
poison
like a
in.
bit of a drug where
Yes.
you're like, oh my god,
Like,
yes, I feel satisfied now.
yes,
Good. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, but then sometimes, I love performing because I think it's fun to connect with actual humans. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Which is why I actually prefer performing live as opposed to like studio stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're feeding off that energy, and you get to have fun with people and like play around, and becomes this cool. And then you can also like bring them along on a ride of like storytelling. People think stories are so important, and to be able to like share that face to face with a group of people and make them feel something, I think that's huge.
Would you say that the songwriter and the performer in you are constantly kind of
Oh yeah.
fighting back and forth? Not
Totally.
fighting. I mean, obviously
Not-
they're working in
yeah.
harmony, but
Yeah.
it's the wrong word. But
Working in tandem.
the songwriter in you would be the thing that's accessing those memories, and then the performer in you is that person connecting.
Right.
Yeah. Do you think that you evolve to be numb to their advances of darkness, or do you feel like, I mean, over the course of your career, do you feel like you've been able to kind of push them down a little bit and allow yourself to just not care and be yourself?
I think so. Yeah. I very rarely do I actually take into consideration what other people are experieing, like watching me.
But you feed off of positivity.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So there is like a certain level of like, like I said, like playing around with people, or like that kind of, just having fun and performing with them. But then there's also this like level of, this is like for me. Like this is the one thing in my life that's purely and totally mine, and nobody can like touch that or take that.
Yeah, I'll dig that. That's great. Yeah.
Because I, especially now, like at this point in place, it's like I am serving, I'm playing out, playing shows, I'm constantly talking to people, constantly meeting people and having, but not in a necessarily authentic way. It's more of like a service way, you know, like I'm performing to everybody all the time. So when I get to like finally take that mask off and be like, this is mine, damn it. You know, like y'all can't have everything all the time. This is my thing. But yeah, and not in like a, it's like a healthy, selfish way.
Yeah, it's interesting
like
that you've chosen that as kind of the side hustle to get your real hustle going, because it is such a performance. You know?
It is, man. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. I really love people, and I think that's why, you know, the service industry is where I've kind of landed. But there's definitely a level of self-care that needs to happen, especially when you're so busy in both worlds all the time. I get to this, not like a dark place, but this almost like I can only people for so long, and if I don't get enough time to recharge, or if I don't, you know, shut that off, I forget what it feels like to have like an authentic experience with somebody, or like a real hang with someone.
Yeah, because you're constantly just jumping from one place to the other.
And that makes me sad, because I really I love, like we were talking about earlier, like the one-on-one hanging out and talking to people and hearing their stories and like chilling and drinking coffee. Like that's my love. I love that so much.
So it's interesting. I'm sure there used to be a time. I remember when I was trying to pursue a songwriting thing in New York City, about you do certain jobs and you didn't want to like bring it up because you want to pretend, no, I'm a writer, I'm a singer songwriter, or I'm a whatever you are.
Right.
It's
like a dirty word.
I know. You mean you do something else?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I do. You know?
Or even when people ask, like, "Oh, do you do music full time, or do you have a day job?" I'm like, "Oh,
gosh."
You know, like it's like a stake through my heart, man. I hate it.
There's a lot of that. There's also the, I played saxophone in high school.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like, are you still playing? Yeah. Yeah, it is a fascinating thing.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got to work hard, but it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting to watch you kind of your arc, because you are on I was talking to who was I talking to? It'll come to me. Another a session person the other day, and we were talking about you, and I was talking about the project and stuff. And I mean, there are so many people like you in this town. Like there are so many, and yeah, I see the way that you're going, and I see the work that you're putting in, and I see the kind of like, I remember when we first started working together, like just putting a session together was kind of overwhelming, you know, and to watch the way that you've handled yourself and getting these gigs, and like after all the stuff, and how you're, you know, people obviously love you because they're being a part of what you're doing, and but they believe in you. But I think the most important thing is that you're genuine, and they love what you're doing, and you're a badass. But yeah, seeing that you have an arc and seeing that you have these opportunities, I mean, that is such a lucky place to be, because there are thousands of people that would kill for that in this town.
God, yeah.
You know,
I do not take any of it lightly. It's crazy, because I was actually talking to my dad about that, how I'm in this place of like pure gratefulness and like joy, you know. It's like, it's almost as if I've like honed into just soaking up literally every second and every experience, and like really just like savoring it, you know, like just holding it and being like, this just amazing. It's like so beautiful. Like I want for nothing, and I just
it's interesting to. I love that. I mean, I think we all need to be grateful. I totally get that. Yeah. But everything is kind of relative too. I mean, it's just reading that Mark Manson book talking about happiness, and if you have you read that Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck? Oh my God, what a great book! But he talks about how happiness is about having better problems. Yes. Because you're going to go from one problem to the next problem, and just creating good problems, and it's to me, the way that I've seen you go is that you've created a lot of really good problems.
Yeah.
Like, who do I want to sing backgrounds on this? Or
Right.
should I keep this verse or should I move on? I'm like, instead of like, like, can I keep the electricity on? Or,
Yes,
like that kind of, those kind of
exactly.
problems. Yeah.
Yes.
And I've seen it, and I think that that's what propels the snowball forward.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because people don't really, they if there are certain people that would listen to this and be like, oh my God, she was a semifinalist on America's Got Talent. She's about to go open for Kev Mo and Taj Mahal. And she still like has to waitress, like she's a waitress.
Oh God.
I mean, that's like, people don't know
Yeah.
how hard it is.
God, they don't. They have
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. I can't tell you how many people are just like, beside themselves when they find out, like, oh, you're what?
Like you made, if you made anything, you made nothing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like America's Got Talent, all it gave you was exposure.
Yeah.
And all they took was millions and millions of dollars of revenue.
Right.
That's a whole nother topic. Was staying on the positive.
Yeah, staying on the positive.
I mean,
No,
Howie
you know,
Mandel's
like-
not hurting. Howard Stern is not
Right.
hurting. I remember, speaking quickly of that tangent,
Yeah.
listening to Steven Tyler talk about the American Idol experience.
Oh.
And he was like, the thing I really loved about listening to him was he splits everything equally with the band.
Oh,
So
I
when they
love
play
that.
a live show, everything goes across. So he was talking about having a house in Hawaii, and was saying like, well, the reason I have a house in Hawaii is because I did American Idol. It's not because I'm Steven Tyler and I had Aerosmith.
Dang.
So it's interesting. I mean, everybody's got to make those sacrifices for the money and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But it just goes to show you where the money's going and not going.
Right.
But
exactly.
but yeah, I mean, it gave you great exposure and,
Yeah, I'm
and
super
fans
great-
and
yeah.
people found you from all over the world.
Absolutely.
We just played with Casey James last night, who was on American Idol.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, he's got a great tour going, and like it got him that, which is great.
Mhm.
Which is almost better than finishing first, where you're tied into some kind of contract.
Man, totally.
You know?
And I think honestly, it's just a really cool stepping stone. Like I
Mhm.
learned a lot
I bet. Yeah.
in a very short amount of time. Got to experience a lot of really cool things, meet cool people. Like, I think it really, really helped me kind of solidify performing well under pressure and like staying strong and intentional about like who I am and how I carry myself and what I'm putting out into the world,
Mhm.
and like getting messages from little girls on Instagram like, oh God, I look up to you and
That's
like I want to
awesome.
be a singer too, and I
Yeah.
like, dude, my heart, I swear, man, just like fell out of my body. It was just amazing. Like that's what it's about to me.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
being a post, and not only for people that I don't know, but even in my personal life, like people that I love and care about. I want to be that like strong and steady post for people, and like really, just
Well, I will
Take
say
care.
that you are that for lots of people. And if there's little girls that are writing you and saying that and looking up to you, they're looking up to the right person, first of all. Now, second of all, let's talk about what kind of toll that takes on you
yeah,
about being that post.
yeah. Man, it's crazy because I feel like it's such a strange dynamic because I'm the oldest of three. I have
Mhm.
two younger brothers, and so that's sort of been my MO since the beginning of time. It's like I am or at least I hope so. I try to be like the strong and steady and the voice of reason and the patient listener and the
Yeah.
caretaker, the buddy.
You're ingesting a lot of information,
Yeah,
a
all
lot
the
of
time.
emotions. Yeah.
And so I think I've definitely carried that over into friendships and relationships, which is beautiful. But I think the difference now is that where I used to try to like fix or save people, and then I would almost carry this guilt if I wasn't able to
Mm-hmm.
fix them. You know what I mean? Like it was like my fault, and I just was always carrying this like heavy, just darkness all the time. And I think what shifted was being able to, like in the music, like sort of take a step back and like create a barrier, you know, so that I'm protected and I'm not investing every part of me into it, but I can still be like a strong, steady, I'll hold your hand through it. I can't do it for you. I can't fix it for you, but I will hold your hand through it, and I'll be there.
You can set the guide up and say this is where you need to get to, and if you want to cross that bridge, it's all you.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that really has just come from learning how to do it from other people, you know. I've been lucky, super lucky to be influenced by really amazing humans.
But it's also kind of your superpower, you know. That's what makes you an artist and somebody that can ingest so much of those emotions and turn around and write them down and sing them.
Yeah.
Or I mean, even if you're playing a cover band gig down at Acme on a Saturday night and you're singing, you know, Respect.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, that's a place for you to take a conversation that you have with your brother that's, you know, going through something tough, and that's a place for you to sing your butt off and get it out.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
It's huge. Yeah. So I
and that in turn resonates with people on the other side, because they're feeling emotions, but they're not. They may not know the intimate details.
Exactly,
of your emotions.
like where it's coming from, which is cool. You know.
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting. I didn't get your perspective on songwriting, but I've had conversations with people about that lately too, about how much is enough to share about what it matters to you.
Yes.
You know, like, because people don't really know where you're in that place. Are you so when you're writing a song, do you feel like you're feeling a bunch of things over the course of, may say, a week and a half, and then you sit down and you do this? Or are you the type of person that it just hits you and it comes and it's there?
It's definitely, not always, but more often than not, it's like a smack in the mouth. Like it comes out of nowhere. Like it just literally just smacks me across the face, and I have to sit down and write it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Have you ever read, I'm gonna pull it up. Have you ever read, I'm blanking on the author name, that's why. The lady that wrote Eat, Pray, Love.
Oh, are you talking about Big Magic?
Yes. Elizabeth Gilbert, yeah.
Love that book. God, that woman.
What a fascinating thing that is. And it's so, I mean, it's pretty out there as far as like, but her experiences make it kind of be that.
Oh, yeah.
When she's talking about how she had this idea for this book about the Amazon and how you know, they went in to try to build this road in the Amazon, and one summer, God or whoever it was that they believed in came in and said, "Screw you, we don't want a road in the Amazon." And there was a mud thing that happened where it sunk every single one of the big things that were working in the Amazon.
That's crazy.
And so she heard this story. I don't remember who she heard it from. It might have been her husband or something. It was one of those moments where that happened, you know, in that country where it was like, okay, that's a sign.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
We won't touch you. We're leaving you alone.
Bye.
Somewhere there's like a big fifth wheeler that's like 18 feet in the ground.
Yes.
You know? And so she was going to write a book about that and about that kind of thing. And then she ended up having some immigration stuff with her husband, and they ended up having to go away. And she put it aside. And then all of a sudden she met this author 10 years later who wrote pretty much the exact same book. And her idea, obviously, I know you've read it, but it's just kind of like when inspiration comes, it comes, and you either grab it or it goes to somebody else.
Exactly.
And how many times have you felt that?
So many.
And it goes. Like, I'll get something and I'll sit down and I'll be like, oh, I'll be in the middle of something. I'm like, oh, shit, I need to grab my phone. And you're typing it out. And then something like a text will come through, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
If you acknowledge that text message, it just happened to me recently.
Really?
It's gone. Yeah.
Man.
Because it comes and it says, I'm here for you.
Right.
If you want to use me, you can use me.
Right.
But if you don't want to use me, there's somebody else that matters more.
Exactly.
So is that kind of how it happens for you?
I think so. It's interesting because I was reading this book about Leonard Cohen, and he kind of touched on that.
We were talking about that today with Stephen. Yeah.
Yes.
About is it the Hallelujah book?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I have it sitting over there. My sister bought it for me, but I have not read it yet.
Dude, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
But the Malcolm Gladwell podcast touched on it a little bit too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I really want to listen to that
because it's super cool.
It's just amazing. Like it's so real, and it's almost the way I kind of picture it is like this little like floating, glowy fairy boop that just kind of comes out of nowhere and is like, "Hey, buddy, are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, let's do this." But I also find that the more you open yourself to that and invite it into your space and into your...
How do you do that?
It's really, I think, about intention.
Okay.
Like being super intentional about your thoughts. It's almost, I kind of relate it to like sketch comedy a little bit.
Okay.
You know, when you're like playing off of, you have like, you know, your group of actors and you're playing off of each other and it's always yes. You never shut down anybody's idea. You never, you know, you go along with it. The answer is yes. What? Okay, you're going here. Sweet. I'm going here. You know,
Yeah.
and so you just leave yourself super open to whatever it is that's coming at you, and instead of like judging it or overthinking it, you just kind of allow it to move through you. You know what I mean? It's almost like you, instead of editing it as it comes in, you just kind of let it.
Yeah,
happen.
that's a lesson to learn for sure.
Right.
Don't overthink it. Just let it
Ever.
come and then come back to it later.
Exactly. Yeah. Because otherwise, you're like almost
Word vomit.
bastardizing. Yeah, that like, because it's like it comes in like the purest form,
It
right?
does, yeah.
So, and if you're stopping that flow, I think that you don't get the actual like core of it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's probably, and I know I've been guilty of this, about you kind of get paralyzed to not allow yourself to, like, it's a matter of, you have to allow yourself to be in a situation to capture it. So,
Yes, totally.
you know, you could be, the last one that happened to me, I was driving, and so that wasn't great. Don't tell my mom.
Right.
But I was dictating. I wasn't texting. I was dictating into the telephone.
Yes.
But
That's what we like.
But I mean, if you're sitting, if you wake up in the morning, you have your coffee, and you go into the studio, and you're sitting there with a guitar in your hand.
Yes.
That allows you to kind of just, there's no,
I'm
I mean, if it
here.
comes, it comes. And I think there's so much pressure that we put on ourselves to manifest and create that magic.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Because it usually sounds like it doesn't come out right.
No, not
but
at
man,
all.
when it comes. But you're right. I like that you have to allow, like a sketch comedy, you have to allow yourself to just let it be what it's going to be.
Exactly.
And if it's nothing that day,
that's cool
don't
too.
get discouraged.
Yeah.
Let it be something the next day.
Right.
Yeah, and I know I'm guilty of not allowing that to come through, or not putting myself in that position enough to allow it to come through me.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk about it coming through you, I found it interesting in her book when she talked about specific ideas that come. But she's an author; she's not a musician.
Right.
So she's not writing constantly from a place of her soul. She's writing from her soul, but she's telling stories.
Right.
You know, I mean, obviously, Eat, Pray, Love was kind of about herself, but that those things actually happened in life. What we're
Yes.
doing is we're capturing a moment of motion about something that happened in our life,
Right.
and we're over dramatizing it.
Dramatization.
Yeah, we're overdoing it.
Yeah.
So is it a question of, is it almost like is it a light switch, or is it kind of like, here's what you're talking about? Because songwriting is different for that.
Yeah, it is. I think it's definitely like storytelling, but you're almost breaking it down and making it accessible for anybody. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I think that there's something to be said about people that are able to take such a dense and complicated story, like every story in our lives isn't simple. You know, there's a million different factors, and there's a million
But it's not
different...
simple in your brain. That's the thing.
Exactly. Exactly. It wreaks havoc. But yeah, so being able to take this like novel of thoughts and feelings and emotion and being able to bring it down and simplify it in a way that people can relate to it and feel it, and also you're still being true to the story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So could we go back to what we talked about with performing, and where we say that, I mean, if you took somebody that has never written a song,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a shit show.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, they're going to have cool words probably,
Right.
but as far as structuring it, I mean, it's going to be a bit of a shit show. So if you have a situation where no, I think not only, I mean, obviously Elizabeth Gilbert is a beautiful writer, and she learned the tools.
Mm-hmm.
So I was talking with Steven about production in the last podcast, and we were talking about how you have a toolbox, and it's just different colors that you can paint this picture with. And I think songwriting is very much, I mean, that was a production conversation, but as for songwriting, like, how do we, obviously we build our toolbox and we know structure, we know choruses, we know verses, we know form, we know rhyming schemes, all those kind of things. When do you feel that you got to a point where you could not think about those things, or are you thinking about those things while you're doing it? It's like you don't think about when you sing a song. It's like you're not thinking about what notes you're singing. You're not thinking about like you're opening your mouth and you're like, I know I have that note and here it is.
Right.
So you're thinking about the lyric because you've passed that point already.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there a point in songwriting where you feel like you can just let it be, or are you always kind of sitting inside of a structure?
That's interesting.
Because when you say it has to be accessed by people, it's proven that people, if there's no rhyme or reason to something, there has to be a pattern.
Totally.
Jordan Peterson talks about that as music being the perfect pattern.
Yeah.
And music is the perfect. It's just patterns. It's words being presented as patterns.
Right.
And for humans to connect to something, they need patterns.
Right.
So we have to stay within a structure. You know, even
Definitely,
Leonard Cohen with Hallelujah stayed within the structure.
Right.
I mean, he may have made like, 1,000 verses on that thing, but it was still within a structure. So how much are you thinking about the structure, and how much are you thinking about what you're saying? Or do you just say inside the structure and it's not part of what you're thinking about?
Yeah, honestly, I think that the way I write most of the time, if not all the time, is I always start with like a feel first. So I guess I kind of build the structure first before anything, and then just kind of paint inside those lines. So it's like building a house, and then you pick out the curtains.
So define what a structure would be then if you're sitting down to write something.
I'll start with like a feel, like some sort of like a groove.
A groove, okay. So
and
rhythm is the kind of the start.
Yes.
It's interesting because Roy said the same thing.
Yeah.
Roy's like
always
rhythm first. Yeah.
Always. Because you have to have something to like build to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, drums are the glue of the band, and groove is glue of the song.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
You know.
I mean, everybody has their approach. I mean, if you were, that's the most fascinating question that I've ever read in biographies when it's been asked. And one of the ones that really stuck out to me, which I think is the reason why he hasn't written a song since, 1994, but Billy Joel hates lyrics. Like, he is not a lyric guy. Yeah. He's like, all of it is music first. Music. And he doesn't do lyrics until at the end. Like, he writes harmony first.
Okay.
And then he sits there and he's like, oh, God damn, I got to write music now.
Really?
He's like lyrics now. Yeah, which is fascinating to me.
Wow.
I don't know why he hasn't written songs. He's probably drinking wine and enjoying the ocean. But,
right. Bastard.
But yeah, it's interesting that that's his first. Everybody has, like, when you hear a piece of music, you hit play on something. And you've showed me stuff that you dig, when we're starting a session or whatever, you'll show me something that I've never heard. And now that you say that you like rhythm, I completely understand what you hear first. I think. Am I wrong? Like, are you hearing rhythm first?
Totally. Okay. Always. I honestly, like, in everything that I listen to, it's mostly rhythm, mostly groove. If it feels good, I'm instantly in.
Yeah. So you're hearing that first.
Yeah.
What do you hear second?
Lyrics.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's always groove and lyrics. Those are like, because I suck. Honestly, I hate writing melody more than anything in the whole world. It is such a pain in the butt every time. Like, I don't, and it's strange too, because like I know what sounds good. Like, I love listening.
Do you feel like you get caught in ruts, or do you feel?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think it's hard, because I think focusing so much on groove and feel and phrasing, like placement, it's hard to find melody for me for some reason sometimes. It's strange.
I mean, I would say that in pop music, the melodies have become incredibly simple and less important, for sure. I mean, Like you could have like as a verse, and they just do that.
And
like
that's it.
That's it,
Yeah.
man. And it's just like, good Lord.
Help.
But I'll tell you what, I hear that thing on the radio again, and I'm like, man,
Exactly.
I've heard that before. Who is that?
Who is
I'm like,
that?
oh
Yeah.
crap.
Dang it, they got me. I worked so hard.
Yeah. Oh man. But I mean, still some of the most beautiful things. That, if it's becoming not. I hate. It's not a negative thing, but lowest common denominator is a negative connotation. But
Yes.
it's becoming a little bit. It just people's attention obviously is what their attention is. You know. I still think deep inside that there are so many people out there that like things that make them think. And it's
Right.
become now where like intense melodies are having like people have to like pay attention to that.
Oh, yeah.
They can't just ingest that. You know?
Right.
And it's all the rhythm. I mean, even if you look at country stuff, I mean, some of the I know there's a Blake Shelton tune where we were joking, we were talking about it. It's like it stays within a third the whole way through.
Really?
And it's one note verses, and then it kind of rises a little to the chorus, and it's just like that's it.
That's
But
it,
it's all
yeah.
rhythm. It's like it's him just talking about you know,
Right.
trucks and stuff like that.
Right.
But I remember Blake Shelton records. Man, there's a Blake Shelton record. I think it was his second or third record back when I first moved to town, and it had some of the most beautiful melodies.
Oh
on
God,
it,
yeah.
You know?
Country music, honestly, in my opinion, man, they like kill the melody.
You think so?
Like the older, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, for
the
sure.
older stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean it's so
Like-
interesting too to watch. Keith Urban, I've never been the kind of my
Yeah.
feelings go, and now he's like, out on the blue and the blue, the blue, the blue, the blue, and I'm like, dude,
So-
where's that other
What
stuff?
happened? Yeah. Dang, dude.
Yeah, but it's fine. That's what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not hating because
Evolving,
I just hope that there's people like you and people out there that are still pushing to make music that we all love. But that's
Yes.
what's beautiful about the internet, and that's what's beautiful is.
Right.
And Steven and I talked about this too. I mean, there's the 1,000 fan rule. If you have 1,000 people that really care about what you do, you can have a career.
God, yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's what's more important, you know,
Yeah,
like having a
that's-
clothing line or having 1,000 fans that
Right.
allow you to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know?
And, you know, if you're focusing on, like, finding your people, right?
Yeah.
It's like, those are the ones that are going to follow you and invest in you and be part of your journey. And, you know, if you're just constantly throwing spaghetti at the wall, like, what you're getting back isn't that commitment and that, like genuine, actual love of, you know, what you're doing. Like,
Less
you should,
carbs and more avocados. Is what you're saying.
yes, give me that avocado, baby. Yeah, I want people that want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want people that like actually genuinely want to be a part of it.
And people that believe in you and believe in the brand of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it's coming down to. I mean, I think the music is becoming just a piece of that brand.
Of the story,
you know?
yeah.
To me, it's still the most important piece because it's what you stand on. It's
God,
it's
yeah.
your so-called product, you know.
Mhm.
But it's becoming easier to make that product. I know you just experienced that too. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, you got a whole band together and BGVs and horns and all your lead vocals done in like 4 days.
It's insanity.
For an EP, like, I mean, I remember when I first met you, and if I would have said, "Hey,
Oh,
Alicia,
dude.
in 2018, you're gonna do this," but you know what? You had your back up against the wall, and you had to get it done.
Exactly. And you know what? To this day, I am a procrastinating
Yeah,
motherlicker.
I think everybody is.
For real. But I really genuinely, in my opinion, do my best work when I don't have time to think about it. If I am under
Yeah.
pressure and it's
So
go
let's talk
time,
about what you first said when you came in today. Then I don't know about the vocals. I don't know about those lead vocals.
Man,
you
yeah.
need to cuss your mouth.
Oh, I just see, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if I have time to think about it, I will destroy myself and
You're-
everything in my path.
You
So-
have to listen to that podcast, but it's kind of the juxtaposition between people that do something and then let it out into the world, and then the people that hone in on it and really work at it.
Yes.
And there's two types of creatives, and Gladwell talks about that, and the two people that he kind of correlates are, or puts together, or juxtaposes, is what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
is Bob Dylan and Leonard Cohen. And
yeah.
like, Dylan wrote like a Rolling Stone in like 20 minutes.
Exactly.
And he looks at Cohen and he's like, dude, Hallelujah is done.
Yes.
Let it be.
Let it go.
And until
yeah.
Jeff Buckley covered it. So
Right.
I think there was another guy that did it previously, but Buckley took it after hearing that guy. And this guy, when you hear his version, you're like, ooh, yeah, that's not it. But he made the choice
yeah.
of what the verses should be. And Buckley heard that version and was like, okay, that's the song.
Yup.
And he put it out there, and that's what we know as today.
Yup.
But Cohen didn't put a stamp on that. Like, he's like,
Right.
nope, that's not it. That's not what I wanted it to be.
Right.
You know, but until somebody was like, screw you,
I'm
making
doing
a
this.
choice.
Yes.
And it's going out.
We're going to do this, and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done. We're good. Yeah, like, I just need to remind myself that, like, it's like with songwriting, you know, if you can sit there and nitpick the crap out of it, and you can overthink and rewrite, but honestly, the songs that I've sat down and written in 20 minutes and never took a look at again are some of my favorite songs.
I feel you. That's the
Every
magic.
time.
That's that big magic that she's
Exactly.
talking about. But it doesn't mean that the other stuff's not good.
No, yeah, for sure. But there's just something special about
Yep.
that, like, because you genuinely capture that, like, that magic, glowing little boop from the Juniverse.
Yeah.
And you just, like, don't touch it, because it was perfect when it came to you, you know?
Well, we talked about when you left and you were about to go into the session, and we kind of wrapped up the pre-production. We were talking about that Lifehouse record, that famous one, and
Yes.
he went and wrote "Hanging by a Moment," which is the biggest hit that propelled their career.
Right.
Which is my least favorite song on that record. Ironically enough, that's my opinion,
Fair.
because I think the other ones are much more thought out. But
yeah.
But that was a massive hit.
Yeah.
And it was just, and you know what they said to him? It's like, dude, you got like an hour and we
Yeah.
need one more song.
Yeah.
Go to Studio B and do something.
Get it.
And he did. And that's something to be said about being put in
Yeah.
that thing. Like, you got a time limit.
Under
Let's
pressure.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and that's like a cool thought too. Like, is there what is more important? You know, like intention or feeling, like pure, unbastardized soul sauce.
Well,
the
thing that concerns me about that is when you say the feeling and intention. Intention to me is trying to manage a situation, and then feeling to me is trying to just feel. So you have an intention of projecting, and this is the way that I'm interpreting it, projecting something that's going to resonate with people.
Right.
But then you have your feelings of just like, that has no boundaries.
Right.
That's just, this
Pure.
is it. Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. Here I am.
And the balance of those, and that comes back to the fact that when you're trained and you have the tools,
Yes.
your intention is there of like, well, I know how to structure this,
Right.
but how do I put my feelings inside of this bubble?
I like that.
It's not hard. It's not easy.
No,
I mean,
definitely not.
gosh. So there's a interesting thing Roy and I were talking about, where there's these four parts of your being. There's there's managers, firefighters, yourself, and exiles. And all of those things are the firefighters are kind of the things that are like, you know, your addictions. Your managers are the people that are like, why are you addicted to that? You're an idiot. Yourself is your very core of your creativity, your being. And then you have your exiles, which is your traumas that you've had in your past. And they're all kind of battling each other out. And I think that that's what we deal with in our emotional life. But when we sit down as songwriters, I think we have two of those that are really fighting, which is our managers and ourself.
Right.
And our managers are the things that are trying to say, you can't do this.
Right.
And yourself is saying, screw you, yes I can.
I can. Watch me.
Yeah, and it's that balance that I think that comes over. I think that comes with whatever you're doing. Like, I mean, if you think about a guy like Moose, it's like he sits down to write 5 o'clock somewhere.
Right.
He's got a lot of managers in that situation because he knows who it's going for. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he needs, and he's got a publisher, and they're asking for this, you know. But somebody like yourself, who's writing for yourself and projecting as yourself, I think yourself is taking over more than your managers are taking
Definitely.
over. But my thing about that is managers can also paralyze you, and they can also make it so that you don't release music.
Right. Yeah.
And because you're worried about how it's going to be perceived.
Yes.
And that's the scary thing, and that's the thing that makes me sad and makes, like, in our day and age in social media, things are consumed and then they're gone.
Right.
And I think the way to really make it, and we talk about branding, right? We're talking about, you are Alicia, this is what you do.
Right.
You could make one record every 5 years, and but you're standing on your product. You're not standing on your brand. And if you look at your music as just, you want it to be great, but if it's a snapshot of what you are at that time to help build your brand and get you your 1,000 fans, if they really love you, you might put something out and they're like, I felt this way, a little rushed or whatever.
Right.
Or, I mean, how many people have made it by just playing an acoustic guitar in front of a camera?
God,
they
yes.
love that vulnerability.
Yes.
They want to know you and feel your feelings,
Yes.
And you might have one that's like, oh, wow, that's great.
Totally.
But you're sending out content. Sending out content.
Yeah. Well, you're allowing people into your world. Like, what is it like to sit at the kitchen table and drink coffee and hang out with you? They want that. I want that. Like, any artist that I really look up to or love or admire, like, I love them first and foremost as a human, and to me the music is almost like this extra thing.
Isn't it so crappy?
Isn't that crazy?
When you meet them and they're not.
Oh my God. God.
I got so many stories like that. That's why I don't want to meet them. See, I don't want to know.
Oh yeah.
I want to interpret their music as what their music is,
Yeah.
That's an old school way of thinking
No,
about
but I think both, and it's not across the board.
Yeah.
There are people that I'm sure aren't what I
don't think you can
they
be an
are.
asshole and make it in the industry anymore.
No.
Because too many people are seeing you for you.
Oh yes.
I mean, you're making Instagram stories, you're posting consistently. If you're successful in music, you have to do that.
Exactly.
Because all the artists that don't do that have had they had a record label back in the 80s and 90s and built up their 1,000 or way more fans. And you can be a band like Radiohead and say, screw the world, I'm going to make a record every 2 years.
Yep.
I don't need to post what I'm doing.
Yep.
But you can't do that now. It's just
can't.
it's impossible.
Which is so incredibly frustrating to me, because
Tell me about that. Yeah. What do you mean?
I'm super old school.
So we're speaking about social media in general.
Social media
and
in
pushing.
general,
Yeah.
yes. Social media in general, I could go on for days and weeks and months about it. But, long story short, I'm really old school. I like my privacy.
Yeah.
I like being able to share things intentionally, with people that I love. You earn that to me. To
Yeah,
me, that's like
I
a
understand.
gift. Not everybody gets that. You can't just give all of yourself away to whoever all the time. It's like people need to earn that. If I love you and want to share that with you, I'm gonna gift that to you, and I don't take that lightly from other people either. If somebody entrusts me with part of their story or part of who they are, I savor that, and I take that with like the highest responsibility, and I think that we lose a lot of that because it's so accessible. And yes, it's cool to like know everybody, and like it's fun to see what's going on and all of these things, but you're also like losing out on that real genuine connection, I think.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I mean, I agree. I think it's run amok,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's you have to set boundaries about what it is.
Yes.
I mean, I think you can still come across as genuine, but people can kind of stay out of your world,
Right.
too. I think there's a balance there for sure.
Yeah.
It's a question of whether it's on your mind to do it or whether it's not. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Honestly, if I didn't need it for music, I would be completely and totally off social media.
Yeah, I would be the
100%.
same way.
Like, because it wreaks havoc in so many ways, because, it's like a constant FOMO. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
you feel like you're missing out on stuff. You feel like you're not where you should be because, oh, look at all these other people and they're doing so well. And what you don't see is them drowning in a sea of doubt and confusion at 12 a.m. with a half a bottle of wine ingested. And you know what I mean? Like, people aren't sharing the real shit. It's just all the sparkly bits, which is cool, but it's a false storyline. You know, it's a false world. You can't only see all of the sparkly bits, because that's not what life is. And I feel like, especially in the younger kids, you know, like, constantly being bombarded by that, it's just, it skews your perception, and it skews, even as adults, like, we all struggle with it, right? But I can't even imagine, you know, being in that place and being constantly bombarded by that. Like, that just, I mean, I would be destroyed. I know I would.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, without a doubt would be destroyed. So I don't know. I just think that it's really cool in some ways and really, really scary in other ways.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's just a matter of, projecting and not ingesting, you know?
Yes.
I think it's a really valuable tool. I mean, I understand, like, I'm guilty of ingesting way too much of it too,
Yeah.
but it's a really valuable tool. It's probably the most valuable tool that we have as musicians to get our stuff out there. Because I mean, you would normally, if this was 1986, you would have had to make this record, and
Yep.
or you would have had to make demos and gone to a label and hope that they made it. And if they made your record, then you would hope that they liked you enough and there wasn't 5 other Alicias out there.
Exactly.
Or they would shelve it and you would never have a career. I mean,
Right.
The nice thing is that you're in control of your career.
Exactly.
And the projecting your career and not ingesting other people's careers is probably the best way to go.
Totally.
There was oh my God, I know, I couldn't imagine being like a 22 or 23-year-old in this world. Goodness gracious. But there is a Gary Vee who's super into social media, and his belief is 20 years from now there will be no privacy.
Right.
There will just be cameras everywhere.
God, yeah.
Maybe, you know, but people are going back to flip phones because they're frustrated with that. So there's you never know where society's going to go. But he interviewed this girl who was 23 and she lived in Buffalo, and he just had a recap with her recently. But I remember the first time I was exposed to him as an entrepreneur, he talked to her on the phone, and she was like, oh my God, I'm 23, I want to be a millionaire by 25, and I want to do this business and this business. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I dig your work ethic. And then he breaks it down. He's like, well, what are you doing? Like, what did you do on Saturday? What did you do on Sunday? Did you work? And she's like, well, not really, you know, like, and it got to the point where, well, who are you looking at that makes you feel like you need to be she's like, well, Kylie Jenner. And
Yep.
And then he said, okay, so you're consuming that information as opposed to working on what you want.
Exactly.
That's your first problem.
Yep.
And the second problem is, no matter how you feel about the Kardashians, you have to look at how the mother of the Kardashians fabricated that business model.
Yes.
It was genius.
Oh yeah.
You know, over the course of 10 years.
It's insane, man.
And you know, no matter how you feel about them, that's what they did. This is how they've survived, and they built an empire. And it doesn't happen overnight, and it's the slow process. But the thing that struck me was, it's like, okay, well, you're obviously ingesting way too much.
Oh God, yeah,
know?
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, luckily, I'm at a place where I can like catch myself in that, and you know, like protect. Like, dude, really, look at your world right now and shut up. But as a kid, you know, like, you haven't built those skills yet. You don't have that, you know, for the most part, that ability to be like,
well, it's as simple as just look at the world now and put your phone down. I mean, that's the tough thing. And I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all guilty
Everybody
of that.
is. Everyone.
Especially us, because our phone is our livelihood.
Like business,
I mean, it's if somebody texts you and says, hey, I mean, you get to a point in your career where it's like they're going to at least wait an hour.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to get back to them quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's what's frustrating too, is like, there used to be boundaries on time, like those rules where you just don't call somebody before 9 or after 9, you know, like, Or
Sorry, I think I texted you at like 12:30
oh,
or 1
dude,
in the morning last
no,
night.
I do it too. You
Yeah,
know,
I
like
know.
I do it too. But it's because it's like become the norm. Like
Mhm.
everybody's supposed to be accessible at all times. Period. You know, and if you're not, you're either gonna lose out, or people think you're a dick for not texting back, or like, you know, and like I struggle with that a lot because I like to be where I am with who I am. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm super old school in that I don't want to be on my phone all the time. I don't want to be distracted or accessible all the time. I need time to recharge and time to, like, you know, be alone and be quiet and read, you know, and kind of just reassess, if you will. And so there are plenty of times where I just wait to text back like a few hours later or the next day even, because I'm just so exhausted by being poked and pulled at every waking hour all the time, you know. And it's like I can't, like, I go into this mode of like I cannot people, even if it's a simple text message, like it gives me so much anxiety and I get so overwhelmed because I'm like, everyone stop poking me, you know.
I know that feeling of
But
like text comes through and you're like, oh, what is
yeah,
this?
and like sometimes you just can't
Yeah.
do it, you know. But it does make me feel bad because I would never want somebody to think that I don't want to talk to them, or I don't like them, or I'm mad at them, or the millions of reasons why people don't text back, or that I'm like a dick or something. And I always try to like express that, like, I've got nothing left for you at this particular moment. Like, give me
I think you can set that
some
precedent
time.
with people too. You
Right?
know, it's. I mean, if you get back to them right away, that's their expectation.
Exactly. And then if you break that, it's
Yeah,
like,
and I think
what's
people
wrong?
that love you and know you and the important people in your life, if you don't get back to them, they can just trust that, hey, you got something going on.
Yes, totally.
You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been guilty of this too. It's like the people that love you and are important to you. Sometimes you blow them off because you are just so exhausted too. But they're the ones that you need to be returning
Exactly.
text to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, I do that all the time.
You
But
start associating texts and these things, these messages with
yeah.
like it's a level playing field, you know.
Yes.
And somebody that calls you for a gig, you know you're going to turn down. You feel this
Yes.
urgency to like call them back right away. Whereas
Right.
it's like your mom or dad call, and you're like, oh, I just dealt with this guy. Now I gotta.
Now-
wait a second, that's my mom
yeah.
and my dad.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on here?
Oh God, it's crazy. man.
Priorities, you know.
Totally.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's
Yeah.
definitely exhausting for sure.
It is. It really is. And I think that I always feel bad because my poor mom, she'll like call me and I'll, you know, be in the middle of something, and
It's funny how we treat the people that matter the most.
isn't that
sometimes,
crazy?
Yeah. We
Like,
give
that's
so
my
much to other
mom.
people, yeah.
That's my mom. Why I should be like picking it right up, right?
Yeah.
But there is a certain level too of like having to.
You know that she's going to be okay.
Yes.
And you just need to be in this moment.
Yes.
Because she'll know that it's important to you.
Exactly.
And this is going to make your life better.
Right.
And you just trust that she knows.
That she knows. Yeah. Because I've like you said, like set that.
You
precedent.
problem solved it in your subconscious to be like, I need to be here right now and
Yes.
present doing this. I
Right.
love you, Mom, but this is where I need to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's an important, but then there's those situations where somebody will text you and be like, hey, can you come over and do this tomorrow at my house? But you're in this other place and you're like, hang on, I'll get that take in a second, because
Yep.
you're texting about that because you're just so worried about work. You're so worried about all that
all
stuff.
the time.
You know?
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's interesting. You have to get to a point, I think, where just they want you. You know, that's the thing. I think that's every musician's goal. Where,
Yeah.
I mean, you look at a guy. You look at, well, Matt Chamberlain, for example, who played on that Lifehouse record we're talking about. Incredible drummer, one of my favorite drummers on planet Earth. Or Steve Jordan. It's like.
Yeah.
Like, Steve Jordan doesn't need to answer texts quickly.
Right. Exactly.
It'll be like they'll be texting 8-9 times just to get him back,
Yep.
you know, because they want Steve Jordan.
Right.
And I think it's getting to that place. You try to get you to that place in your career where they want you. They want
Right.
Alicia. Like, we want you to sing on this. We
Right.
want you to play this gig, you know. And they'll wait for you to get back to them. Yeah, I think that's everybody's goal. That you're
Yeah.
not just a singer anymore. You're not just a saxophone player. You're you.
You are you. Yeah.
You are you, and they want you, and that's building your brand up to make yourself
Mm-hmm.
valuable enough for them to want to call you,
Definitely.
and then trying to do the best to kick ass in that session,
Yeah.
or that gig,
Oh,
or that
yeah.
whatever. You know,
Totally.
I think that's the key. But
Yeah.
but that letting go and that fear of that is
It's
tough.
just, I mean, whew, it just overwhelms me with anxiety, the whole, I don't know, because I'm a very,
I think the way that, I mean, we talked about this after the America's Got Talent thing about it's like, I was like, dude, just put something out. Just start putting
Yes,
stuff out.
yeah.
You know, like just even with you singing in a guitar, it's like
yep,
they want to know, they want to hear about you. They
Yep.
want to hear, they want to know you. They want to hear about you. But I think we have this beautiful, beautiful thing that we've grown as these beautiful flowers that we can pick from. Of like we can keep people away from our personal.
mm-hmm.
I mean, but we can be personal.
Yes.
And we can do it through lyrics.
Yes.
I think that's a beautiful gift.
It is.
I think we can sing lyrics that mean so much to us
Right.
and can be interpreted on the other side however they want to interpret
Exactly.
it.
Yep.
But I feel like for me, that's all I'm willing to give.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all I'm willing to give is a part of myself is those lyrics.
Yeah.
And sharing something that's genuine is cool, but that's the best thing. Like my favorite, I was just listening to him before you came over here, but people are gonna laugh because they think, oh, it's been 1 week since you looked at me. But Bare Naked Ladies are masters
Yeah.
of these lyrics against this happy kind of setting, and then they start talking about people slitting their wrists and like talking about suicide, and I'm just like, I bet they sit there and get a kick out of that because people are singing along, but in their head they're like, man, I wrote that because I was dealing with mental illness at that time.
Yes.
I think that is super. That's such a backwards way of doing it, but I love it, and I think that we have the ability to project the most important part of ourselves.
Yes.
But people can interpret it to the most important part of themselves.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, that's
so
such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You can say more in 2 lines
Yep.
than you can say you don't have to write a book.
No.
You know?
You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to go into great detail. Like, people relate to sentiment.
Yeah.
You know,
They hear words, and if you make it to a place where it just hits them and impacts them in a certain way.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's also the nice thing about songwriting is you can be as literal as you want. I mean, country music, you can sit there and talk about trucks, and I love one of my favorite writers is obviously John Mayer. I've been obsessed with him for years, but seeing him go from, you know, playing chess with a salt and pepper shaker lyric to like what's the Roll It On Home track on his latest record?
Oh,
where he talks about the last 10 texts you sent to your ex and none of them are from him or whatever. I'm like, that's such a literal thing, you know, such a literal moment that didn't exist in his writing kind of early on.
Exactly.
You know, he talked about my stupid mouth has got me in trouble. I mean, there's kind of like a metaphor. He had a metaphorical thing going, and then he kind of ventured off, like gravity's working against me. Like, it's cool. It's got a level to it. But now he's talking about like texts,
like real,
and, you know, like I like shampoo in there. It's like, you know, you left your shampoo in my shower. You know, like it's like
I'm a
we're getting there
sucker for that, man.
Yeah.
Like when I think I used to be a part of NSAI when I first moved, and they would always talk about furniture, like song furniture. You know, like
ooh, wow, what's that?
it's basically like if you can close your eyes and listen to a song, right, and you can see exactly what's happening. There's like tangible things, like you close your eyes and you can see the living room that they're describing. You can smell the food. You can hear the kids playing. You can like hear footsteps. You know, like making everything super tangible, and it's sort of like writing a movie for somebody. And I am such a sucker for that because I just love. You're like living it. You're like actually a part of the story as opposed to somebody singing at you. They're like singing to and with you. I don't know. It's just such a cool because you could really like, to me, like that's how I feel with.
That's what you're trying to achieve when you sit down to write something?
Yes,
Okay.
totally, always. Yeah, I want them to see and feel and smell it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's probably a depth chart on that. I mean, there's
Yeah.
kind of like a fader that exists, like literal on one side and metaphors on the
Exactly.
other. And how we all kind of exist inside of that.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing. I mean, Dylan is Dylan is a genius about making literal things feel like metaphors.
Yes.
You know, that was his superpower.
I love that.
You know, and then Cohen definitely on the metaphorical side. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I think that both of those working in tangent and kind of moving that fader around.
Definitely.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's we all kind of sit in there somewhere.
I think so
and I'm not
too.
comparing us to Bob Dylan or Leonard Cohen. But we're all writers and we all create something that matters to us. And I think
Yeah.
there's some validity in that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all trying to just get out what's inside of us the best way we can to
Yes.
to capture something. You
Right.
know? Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's yeah, it's definitely become more literal. I mean, I like Ed Sheeran's newest record, has been it's older now, but man, I listened to that thing so many times, and
Yeah.
it does not get enough credit. I mean, there's some tracks on there that are, I get what he's going for. You know, he
Yeah.
wants to be the wedding song at everybody's wedding.
Right.
It's cool, I dig, see it, but
Dig.
there's some things on there like if you have never listened to Supermarket Flowers on that track,
I haven't.
it will make you cry.
Oh.
It will make you cry.
I like crying.
And it's so literal. It's you have to. Everybody needs to listen to it. And
Cool.
and the last song on the record is great too. But the Supermarket Flowers is about it's his mother's perspective of her losing her mother.
Oh.
And it's like it's
God.
as simple as, you know, Dad, you told me that I would never have a tear, but there's a tear running down my cheek. Pouring out the ginger beer, you know, like all these literal elements that make this beautiful thing.
Yes.
But you know, God will take you home. It's such a beautiful
I love
and well written song,
Yeah.
magical, and it's very literal. I mean, you can literally, like you're saying, you can
Like,
see
it.
you can see them folding the clothes and like putting the
Yes.
clothes away and like pouring
God,
the beer
that's
into
the
the
shit
sink.
that
Oh,
gets
it's
you right
amazing.
in the heart, dude.
But that's a new
Yeah.
thing for pop music. Like I don't feel like
Yes.
that's been there along.
Yeah,
I
which
think
is
country's influenced it pretty heavily.
I think so too. I really do.
And society has, because society
Well,
has
yeah.
less of a patience. As we talk about melody,
Yes.
they have very little patience for melody, and they have very little patience to actually think about a lyric. They want you to
Yes.
scream it in their ear. And
Well,
go,
yeah,
I
you
get
have to
that."
like spoon feed it
Exactly.
for real. Like here it is, platter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me at least, like I want it to feel good and I want it to mean something. Like why can't we have both? You know what I mean? Like there's something to be said about like the fun drunk party dance
Yeah,
pop stuff, but
of course.
then like when I'm listening to music, I want it to feel just as good as the lyrics make me feel. You know?
Going back to the rhythm.
Yes,
The rhythmic stuff,
like
yeah.
I want it to be rhythmically cool, and I need some meat and potatoes. I need a story. I need to feel something, you know.
Yeah.
And I think those things together for me are like, boom, you just won. You got me.
Well, I think you've achieved that on your new record.
I hope so.
Yeah, I
I
think
tried
you
real
have.
hard for that. I feel honestly like really good about the lyrics on this
Cool.
one. Really good.
Well, I mean, I love. I mean, we kind of went through some of them, but obviously the ones that I know well.
Yeah.
I love them. I think they're great. I love the throwbacky kind of energy of it too. Like you just
Yeah.
went there. I mean, you say you're an old school person, you know, old school in the way that you look at things, and it definitely comes across.
Mhm.
You know, but I'm gonna be an asshole on the other side, and I'm gonna say, that's your snapshot for now.
Yep. And
Do this tour.
kudos.
Play those songs.
Yep.
And then get back down
Yes.
and start writing, because that's what it's about.
Definitely.
People want to know where you're at. They want to know.
Yeah.
If you were to look at it as, instead of taking a snapshot or a selfie of you, you know, with a duck face in front of some body of water.
My
you-
favorite thing to do, by the way.
I mean, I think that you have. I mean, there are people that are doing incredibly well doing that. You know,
Yeah.
but that's all they have. Like
Right.
you look at some of these people that are super successful on social media and are making a great living. You know,
Mhm.
that's what they've got. They've got a picture. and you have pictures, and you have the ability to sing and play guitar and songwrite. And instead of taking a picture with a duck face in front of water, like, why don't you pick up a guitar when you're out on the road
Yeah.
and set up a camera and do a quick chorus or a quick verse, and just grab the snapshot of that moment,
Right.
but with your talents, and that heightens that moment even more.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like
I just think
postcards.
yeah, I think so. I think people want that. you
Yeah.
know. I think that you have the ability to do that.
Mhm.
It's just one of those things. If it's natural and you think about it,
See, that's the thing, like,
it's not in our DNA.
it's just not.
Yeah.
I'm not the, like, look at me, look at me, look at me, which is, sounds ridiculous.
Well, it's
'cause
not.
I'm
That's
on
not a
stage
look
and,
at me,
like,
look at me,
performing,
because
but
you're bringing a talent and an emotion to something.
yeah,
You're bringing a part of you. I mean, if you wrote a couple lines or whatever, and you just sing it into a camera, I mean, that's
Yeah.
not look at you. That's look at my art.
right.
You know.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's just a perspective shift,
Yeah.
because it feels so icky to me. But if I were to think about it in a different way, like you said, like, I'm sharing my art, I'm really proud of this thing, like, I should share it,
Share it, yeah.
And
People want to perceive it. They want to ingest your art. You know?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
they
don't
want
know.
they want you, and they want to know what you're up to. They don't want to know. They don't want to look. I mean, they want to look at a picture,
Yeah.
and capture that emotion in the picture. But I mean, you can give people so much more.
Yeah.
It's the thing that musicians forget. It's so many of these people that are famous. They have no talent.
Mm-hmm.
Like their talent is their brand. I get
Right.
that, but man, that can go away
God,
at
yes.
any time. I mean, look at what just happened with Roseanne. I mean, she's
Oh,
with her show. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, she's got an acting talent and stuff like that, but she says something that is perceived by people to be terrible, and she's gone. Like, she's
Right.
gone. She'll never work
That's
again.
it.
I also think that she's got a lot of troubles and things that are going
Sure.
on. But yeah, if you look at what you have, it's like nobody can ever take the fact that you can sing away from you.
Right.
Nobody can ever take the fact that you can write songs away from you, and the
Right.
way that you can play guitar.
Yeah.
You'll always have that. They don't have that.
Yeah.
I mean, if Kim Kardashian says something outlandish and terrible, like, people will jump on her,
Yeah.
and that's all she's got.
Right.
You know, and we forget as musicians that we've cultivated something,
Mm-hmm.
and I really believe that people want people like you in their world. I mean, you get emails from little girls. It's like, think of those
Yeah.
people. You know.
Yeah.
Think about if you go out there and if you sing some guitars or play your guitar and you sing a song and they see you out on the road having a blast
Right.
and doing something. I mean, they're going to gravitate to that.
Yeah.
They're not going to gravitate to Kylie Jenner.
Right.
You know, they're going to gravitate to, like, and 80% of the little girls probably will want to be Kylie Jenner. But what
Right.
about that 20% that's like, well, I don't really associate with that.
Yes.
And then you pop up
Yeah.
and they look at you and they're like, oh my gosh, yes.
Right.
She's
That's my
worked for
people.
this. She's earned this.
Mhm.
You know, she's been in the gutter, broke as hell, trying to pay for shit. And
Right.
she's been there.
Yep.
You know, there's nothing's been handed to her,
Right.
and she's learned a talent. So
Yeah.
musicians forget that. It's like there are things that we have spent time getting good at that they can't take away from us.
Yes. Yeah. And that's like a whole nother thing too, like talking about what it actually looks like to be an artist, what it actually looks like on the day to day, like, the oh shit, can I pay rent? The
Yeah.
oh god, I can't get my band together for this rehearsal. Oh god, I just ran out of money for pictures for my EP. I just
Yeah.
I'm,
That's a reality for
it's
sure.
just crazy. And then, you're working your day job and you get home and you're exhausted, but you still have 8, 9, 10 hours of music stuff that you have to work on. You have emails, you have calls to make, you've got all of these things that you're carrying, wearing all of these hats. And, it's like running a business while working a full-time job, while trying to, like, live life and pay bills and, like, remember to get your teeth cleaned and shit. Like, I can't do all of this by myself, Like, this is insane.
Well, here's the other side of it, is you are, first of all,
Yeah.
doing it. And here's the positive in that is, as much as it sucks, which it does suck, at least you're building to something that you believe in.
Exactly.
How many people can say that?
It's crazy, man.
I mean, it's the thing that that about it is, and Gary Vee talks about it a lot, and other branding people talk about it, is it's you can't do it quickly. It's slow.
Oh yes,
You know?
slow burn.
It's one person at a time. It's one person at a time,
Yep.
one situation at a time, and
Yeah.
you just make it work and make it work and make it work.
Yeah.
And so that, you know, then all of a sudden you're 32 and there's people that are doing it for you.
Yes.
And
It's like
you have-
patience and
yeah.
perseverance, you know?
Exactly.
Like are, to me, some of the most important. Yes, you can be talented and, you know, people can like you and all of these wonderful factors, but at the end of the day, if you're not patient and you aren't persevering when it gets really hard, those are like the tests, you know, those are the moments where it's like, all right, I made it through that, on to the next one. Made it through that,
and
you
that's
know?
the perfect example. And I was thinking about this conversation, and that's, you've done that. I mean, when I first met you, the thought, we talked about the thought of you putting together a record.
Yeah.
I would have looked at you and said, there's no way in hell that you are going to get an EP done.
Right?
And you just did an EP in 4 days.
In 4 freaking days, dude.
Yeah.
But really, it's like, I feel like these last couple of years have been just, I've grown exponentially
Mhm.
as a human, as a musician, you know, like I've just learned, I feel like it's just, I've learned so much and I'm so much more, I guess I'm just more able to know that I can do it. You know what I mean? Like I've made it through such crazy stuff and like the stuff, like a few months ago, like I was literally about to quit music and move home. Like, you know what I mean? Like deepest, darkest pit. That was the first time that I have ever even had that thought, because, you know, music is literally everything to me other than family and friends, but you know what I mean? And so it's like, for me to even have that thought was terrifying to me. Absolutely terrifying. I've watched so many friends and people that I look up to, like, move back home or, you know, get full-time jobs or, you know, what have you. And like, that's cool and all, but I've, in my spirit, just always felt like, no, I'll never give this up. Like, this is my thing. And yeah, to have like that moment, I was just like, holy crap, this is getting real.
There's a thing in kind of the, I'm just getting into it now, but there's a thing in the ultra runner kind of world where, you know, running 100 miles is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I've probably listened to about 6 or 7 people that have done it talk about it. And the question inevitably gets asked, what mile do you hit where you're like, oh,
Yes.
crap? And they all have various miles.
Mm-hmm.
And the next inevitable question is, why didn't you stop?
Right.
And the first thing out of their mouth is, I didn't want to wake up the next day and live with that for the rest of my life.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, my
I mean, it takes a
poor
certain
heart.
special person to push through that wall. I mean, they call
God,
it, in a running world, they
yes.
call it the wall, you know?
Yes. That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
Exactly what it feels like.
And you know, it's interesting to me because you told me that story and you said that your dad was a big part of, you know, a part of supporting that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the runners were the same thing. It's like my brother was running beside me and he
Well,
carried me. And
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of you have to surround yourself with people that believe in you.
Yes.
And
Are willing to, like, literally pick you up and carry you over the finish line.
yeah, and you
Yeah.
have that in your family, and that's a beautiful thing.
I do.
You know, and you've
God,
been that,
lucky.
I'm sure, for many of your other friends that have had those things.
Yeah.
But you can pick them up over the finish line. But the question is, do they want to get up
Do
and run
they-
another
yeah,
100
exactly.
miles?
Yes.
And that's not your choice. That's
Right.
their choice, right?
Right.
They have to decide whether they want to do that or not, because it is living with something that you've. Some people would look back on it and feel like it's a failure, and some people would look back on it and realize, oh my God, I'm so glad I did that.
That I did. Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
But you don't know in that moment,
Right.
you know. And it sounds to me like you knew, and you just had to push through the wall.
Definitely.
But you know what? You're running 100 miles again.
I am.
You're done.
Real
You finished it,
fast.
and now you're starting again.
Yep.
You know. And
Yeah.
this time you might not need somebody, but then when you start to run the 200 miles.
I'm gonna need a
Then
lot
you-
of people.
Mile 137, you're gonna need someone else. So
Yep.
it's like you just have to keep picking it up. You know,
Yeah.
that's a tough thing.
It is. It's really.
Regret is a major thing.
God,
you know.
yeah.
I mean,
Oh God, yeah. If I would have given up when I felt like I wanted to, dude, this EP wouldn't have happened. I would
Yeah.
not be going on tour.
yeah.
You know, I wouldn't have met the people that I've met. Like, that's insane to me. My heart literally dies at the thought of not being able to do all of those things, you
Yeah.
know? And yeah, I think you're absolutely right with, like, surrounding yourself with people that will not let you fail, even, you know what I mean? Like, who genuinely will pick you up and help you and talk you through it and listen and support whatever decision you do finally make. But, like, you know, like, the people that I love were like, are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to quit?
It's the questions.
Oh, yeah?
I like that.
You know?
Yeah.
And
It's not that you shouldn't quit. You shouldn't quit.
exactly.
It's the,
It's
are
like,
you sure?
Are you sure? Yeah, because, you know, it's like, I'm not going to push you in one way or the other.
Yeah.
I'm going to help you, like, figure this out, and we're going to figure out what the next step is, basically. You know, like, I respect you and your ability to make decisions for your life, but, like, okay, what do we do? What's our move now? You know? And I think that's huge. And I'm so stupidly lucky and grateful to be surrounded by, you know, my family and my friends. They're just, it's everything. Like, I would not have made it through that. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is, where do you feel you draw your inspiration from? Like, where do you feel like getting through that wall came from? Is it fear of failure? Is it fear of regret?
I think, yeah, those are definitely factors.
Is it the
for
fact that you
sure.
realized how much you loved something that you didn't want to give up on it?
Yeah.
Almost like a relationship kind of situation.
Absolutely, like a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the best relationship you can have is with music because it's always there.
Always.
Sometimes you can push it aside and forget about it, but it'll always be
It'll
there.
find you. Like, hey, buddy, remember me?
You remember
Boop,
me?
boop, boop, boop.
We used to be friends.
Yes. Remember that one time we had a real good time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think really, to me, like, it was definitely all of those things, like fear of regret and not wanting to give up on it. But it was also like, remember who you are.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
Like, remember who you are. That little sunbeam boop child that was booping around, writing
The
little
innocence-
songs.
the innocence of it, yeah.
Yes. Like, you loved this
Yeah.
more
Before it
than
became a business.
anything.
Yeah.
More than anything. You would do it all day, you'd sing yourself to sleep.
Yeah.
You would find anything to make a microphone. You would,
I'm sure your dad reminded you a little bit of that.
oh yeah, for
I'm sure there was a few stories that on his drive down to see you that he was
Yes.
getting ready for.
Dude, I used
He
to...
had that gun ready, it was cocked, and he's
He was
like,
like,
story.
Remember who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it's fascinating that you go back to that innocence.
Oh, dude, I honestly, like, because it's like doing that little girl a disservice. That would be like me looking all of those little girls in the face and going, sorry, bruh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I gave up on you.
I gave up on it. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, no. That is not...
It's not happening on my watch.
I don't give up. Period. If I want something, like, you gonna have to kill me dead
That's
before
great.
I give up on it, you know? And it's like, I can't forget that. I cannot forget that drive. I'm stubborn as shit, and
Mhm.
I will get it. Like, period. But, yeah, it's like... Oh, my God. This is so embarrassing. But I used to... Like, I have been writing stuff since I was super little, but I remember I used to sing this song. It was like, you can do anything, even danger, even stranger. You can do anything. You know, just like, God,
That is
I'd be like singing
incredibly
these little like. Oh my God! I just remember that. Like, what happened to that? You know, like. You could not...
Was there like a hairbrush in your hand?
Oh,
too?
God, yes.
Yeah, nice.
Always. Totally. Yeah. But, you know, it was like that pure, innocent little boop that was like... I've always been that. I've always been that, like, bubble of sunshine and like stubborn, like
Interesting that you're putting stubborn and positivity in the same
yeah,
place.
but it's like a good stubborn. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm stubborn in the way that like no matter how dark it gets, no matter how hard it gets, you will not take the light out of me. Like you cannot do it no matter what. And it gets super dark and real shitty and definitely not a good time, but like there's always that little teeny, even if it's like a small little flame in the moonlight, you know, it's like it's always there. And I just have to remember to like tap into it, you know, like because I struggle with like depression and anxiety like real bad.
Yeah, I understand. I'm
Real
welcome to the club.
bad.
I'm with you there.
It's a bitch, man. When I don't go there often, but when I get there, it's like, God, it takes me such a long time to get out of that hole, like that pit.
It's not an excuse because I mean, it's everybody deals with that, but it's. I mean, I've gotten more and more excited about talking about it because I don't care anymore. It's
Yeah.
like, I think people need to talk about it.
God, I think so too,
I mean, look,
man.
I'm getting chills thinking about it, but I mean,
Woo.
look at what happened yesterday. You know, Bourdain. Like
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
It's just, you don't know,
No.
dude.
I mean, you look at that guy. It's just. I mean, what a presence and what a person. And obviously,
Yeah.
he's gone through a lot in life, but he was the antithesis of what every person wanted to be.
Yes.
And he decided that he didn't want to be that anymore.
Right?
How is that possible?
It's just.
That shook me to my core.
Yes. Me too.
I mean, it was, and it's palpable on social media. It's.
Yeah.
I mean, when we're talking to anybody you're talking to, they are trying to wrap their head around it.
Exactly.
Because if there's anybody that had a reason to live, it's that man.
Oh my God, yes.
I mean, that man lived life better than any person that
Yeah.
I've ever met.
Yeah.
You know? Never met him, but
Well, you know.
wish I had. But
Me too.
But yeah, I mean, my sister actually she's a huge fan of his, and she played a gig, and he was at the gig, and she couldn't bring herself to go talk to him because
Oh.
he had such a presence.
Yeah.
She's like, I couldn't do it.
Right.
You know? And so many people have said that when they see him, they just don't. He's
It's
got
just
this presence.
Thing. Yeah.
And I mean, I hope that what that does, and I've seen it on some of the news things, you know, talking about like we need to start talking.
Yes.
And we need to start, if you don't feel good and you have those issues, we need to start
Yes.
talking. And it's not, don't be scared to talk about it.
Yeah.
You should not be.
Oh,
It's
God,
not a
that's-
weakness.
No, it's
No.
really not. It's really, really not. And I think that I just watched, you know that movie Milk, about Harvey Milk?
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I know about it, yeah.
God, it's such a good movie. It's absolutely amazing. It's one of my favorites. But there was this one part where this somebody had left this like drawing of him, and you know, with like a threat of like, we're gonna come for you, basically, and he was arguing with his partner about like, he's like, I'm gonna call the police, you should destroy that, blah blah blah, and he's like, you know what, no, and he puts it on the fridge so he can look at it every single day, and he goes, what if you put it in a drawer, it becomes this big ominous scary thing, but if you put it right where you can see it, not scary, I can, you know.
Yeah,
and
that.
I think that was such an amazing thing to actually like look at something, like actually look at it and go, I'm not scared of you. I'm
Yeah.
not afraid of you. I'm going to look you directly in your looking spheres, and I'm going to tell you the business, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think that the more it's stigmatized and the less people want to be vulnerable and actually talk about it, the scarier it gets, because it becomes this like monster in the night because you're avoiding it.
Yeah,
it just
absolutely.
becomes this deep, dark pit. Whereas if you just bring it out and just get it out, get the poison, all of it, get all of it out. And you realize too, like how many people have struggled with it, are currently struggling with it, have made it through it, you know, have found ways to deal with it and not fall over the edge. And it's like, we just have to be, I try to be so patient and really empathize with people who are, you know, difficult to communicate with in whatever way that is, you know. And I think that really stems from being in that pit and feeling what that feels like, and going, dude, I see you. Like, I have actually been there, and look where I am now.
I empathize,
you know?
yeah. Empathy is just, it's such a valuable thing.
It is. And I think a lot of people shy away from it because it's hard. It's a lot to carry, and it's a lot of work.
It's almost like you're reliving it. You know, you've pulled yourself
yeah.
up and you're reliving it, you know, and you're going back into it, yeah.
So, yeah, so there's this level of, like, again, you know, I think the self-protection thing is huge, but...
Well, it's interesting in our... I mean, he is in a field where he's in the public eye, and
Right.
I think we've just... Mental health is just... It's just... The iceberg has just tipped. Like, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this because...
Yeah.
I used to think that it was just the way that we live in our musical world, but it's everywhere. It's because you're always putting out this thing that we're perfect and we're happy and we're great. Like you talked about social media.
Yep.
And there are so many times when your social media work is done and he's probably sitting in that hotel room,
God,
and
yeah.
it's just like you get into these negative feedback loops.
Yep.
I mean, you know, Manson talks about it in The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, where he talks about, you know, you get into the sad panda feedback loop.
Yes.
Where you start having these thoughts and then they just snowball and snowball,
Yes.
and you're creating this thing where like you get
It's like
deeper and
web.
deeper and deeper. And I mean, that can happen quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to perceive what might have happened in that evening, but it's like something could have triggered it.
Definitely.
And it's just like he got into a loop
Yep.
and made a choice. And it's like, that's such a sad thing.
God,
because
it is.
if you get into those negative feedback loops and then you get out of those negative feedback loops, you look at yourself in those loops and you're like, what the
Bruh.
hell was I thinking?
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
life is so fucking great.
Exactly.
And you're like, why was I even in that negative place?
Yep.
And it's just breaking that loop.
It is.
You know?
It really is. And like I think for me personally, you know, and I'm sure that this probably is the same for a lot of other people too, but it's like now that I've gotten a little bit older and I can recognize when it's starting to happen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can see it before it smacks me across the face, basically,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
sort of be intentional about, okay, how can I make this different? How can I make sure that I don't, you know, fall into the same cycles of falling into the pit, you know, like,
Yeah.
okay, it's happening. I'm going to go for a walk. Cool. I'm going to eat some greens. I'm going to call Val,
Yeah.
you know, I'm going to call my dad,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like really, it's like getting to know yourself.
Yeah.
We're going down a dark path here, buddy. How about we just
It's pulling
bring
you
it
in.
back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes going there and then knowing that it's coming for sure to realize that you have to kind of turn around.
Yeah.
But man, it's such a process to just realize the signs.
It
to see the
is.
signs.
Yeah, because sometimes it sneaks up out of nowhere for literally no reason. I can't even tell you how many times it's just been like, there's nothing wrong, you know, nothing triggered it. It just, all of a sudden, it was just like, pow, here we are. How did we
Well,
get
I think
here?
we live in our musical world and we're always performing too. You know, it's
Yeah.
like we can't talk about this stuff. Like,
Oh,
if
God.
you're- like imagine if I walked into your session and I'm like, Alicia, I'm having kind of a crappy day today.
Right?
Can we talk about stuff? It's like, no, I'm there for you.
Right?
That's my job. I'm doing my job.
Yup.
And then I come out. But the issue with musicians is your job is your emotions.
Exactly. Exactly, man. Yeah.
So if you're having a crappy day
Yup.
and you're trying to sing a lyric that it's a happy lyric or do whatever, it's like it doesn't add up. So then you have to put on that performing face.
Right. And
And
that's
that takes effort.
exhausting.
Yeah, and then when that mask comes off, like you talked about, with being a server and being a performer, when that mask comes off and you look in the mirror and you go, why was I not myself today?
Yep.
And now you're like, oh, crap, am I not good enough as myself?
Oh my God, yes.
I mean, all those things start. We get loopy in here.
Loopy. What is this, Fruit Loops?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. You know, because you can't have a bad day in the music industry. It's not acceptable.
Nope.
You will not work.
You won't get hired back. People think you crate down
Yeah.
or what have you. Which is so crazy because our field is like notorious for mental health
Oh yeah.
stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's literally how many musicians.
Well, part of that I think is like we talked about earlier about. It's like we're always tapping into our mental
Yeah.
state. I mean, we're tapping into our emotions so much.
Right.
And it's trying to be so dramatic at times to try to get something out of what we're doing,
Yes.
and you can't. I mean, there are times that I've looked at people that have the 9 to 5 life and 2 kids and a dog and
Yep.
a house and 2 cars, and I'm like, man, how do they, like, is that cool? Like is that life
Yeah.
better?
Right.
But we can't do that.
No.
That would
Absolutely not.
We'd be miserable.
Yeah.
But you do, and you're like, when you're in, especially in those loops, you're like, man, like, what am I doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have so many other things I could be doing that
Mhm.
I could come home at night and not be thinking about.
Yep.
But then what you do is you do those things and you come home at night and you're still thinking about
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just
Because
kinda
I've You're like,
Let me tell you.
but it reminds you that you love it.
Exactly.
You have
Yeah.
you don't have to do enough other kind of things to remind yourself of what you're doing this for.
Yes. God. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to have, at least for me, like, other creative outlets.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? So music isn't my only escape, because that's a lot of pressure to put on music, and music should be, like that like constant, strong and steady friend.
Yeah.
But if you turn it into something that it's like a toxic relationship, like codependency, like I need
Totally,
you.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like I like painting.
Cool.
It's so sweet, dude. Reading, like hiking, like just having.
Yeah, it is
other-
kind of like a relationship, if it's codependent, you're kind of like, all you're doing is you're in a loop talking about what you've done together with that person.
Yep.
But the beauty of ingesting other art and doing other art is, it's like, if you think of it as a relationship, it's kind of like, you read a book like The Big Magic and you get these interesting things from an author who's in the author
Yeah.
field. And then you're like, wow, I see how that can go to my relationship with music.
Yep.
And you're like, I see that. And all of a sudden you're bringing this new energy to your relationship
Yes.
with music. Yeah, that's fascinating. I totally see what you're talking about
Yeah.
there. It's really interesting.
It's sort of like when they say, like, when you get married, like having like new experiences together.
Yeah,
to like, because you bring, and also having like separate
experiences
lives
that
and
you can bring back to it,
yes,
yeah.
exactly. So you're sort of like always building on this great foundation that you already have, but then you have stuff to talk about and stuff to be excited
Yeah,
for.
I love that.
And
That's beautiful.
new
like,
things to
looking at it.
learn,
Yeah.
like I think that's so important, because once you stop growing in anything, as a person, as a artist of any kind, like the moment you feel like you're done, or that you have nothing left to learn or nothing left to strive for, be excited about, it's like, what's the point? Change is the only constant in life, period. Like that is the only thing that is a constant, is change. And so if you're not changing, you're going against the natural flow of life, of like living, and I just think that, I don't know, we need new, cool, exciting things, and we need to keep growing
Growing and learning, for sure.
doing stuff that scares you.
Yeah. I'm starting to look into getting into yoga.
Yes.
I've done it a couple times, but yeah.
Oh,
that's
it's
kind of
so
a thing.
good, dude.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for me.
I think you'd love it. It's so,
It's been fun the times that I've done it,
yeah.
but that's definitely scares me.
Really?
Because you don't like looking bad at something. Like you don't want to look bad.
Oh, yeah, but
Psh,
whatever.
who cares what people
Who
think?
cares what anybody thinks?
I mean, I can run up some hills.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, but
I think you love
poses.
yoga,
I
man.
don't know. I'm gonna get that in my
I
belt.
think it's so good.
Yeah.
If
I like the
feels-
idea. The times that I've done it, I did it one time, and it was a pretty intense session. And that night I was at home, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start a podcast. And I had that
Yes.
idea. It's like, because my body was like flowing, and the
Yep.
energy felt good, and I came up with the whole concept to do this.
I love that.
I was like, man, that is
There's something
fascinating.
to that.
There's something there. I might need to explore that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's the coolest, man. Yoga for me is like, it's like the perfect marriage between like meditation and exercise, but in a way that's like I benefit from movement of any kind. Like I love dancing and stuff like that, but there's something about yoga that's so it's really like centering. Like it's like giving myself permission to take time for myself, like an intentional move of like,
I like that. Yeah,
this
that's
is
cool.
for me. Like everything else is crazy. There's always stuff to do and things to think about and work towards, but it's just kind of like, all right, I am allowed this time to not think about shit. I'm just allowed to take care of my body and my mind.
Yeah.
And like,
That marriage of those two things, I love that. That's
Yeah.
the way of putting it.
it's so good, man. I love it. Sort of like setting an appointment with yourself.
Yeah, I love that.
You're
That's
like,
good.
all right, Al, we've got an hour. Let's do this.
Yeah, I think running can be that too, but it's just it's so funny with what we do for a living. Our lives and days are so unpredictable.
Oh my gosh.
Which is the beauty of it too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you just
Never know what's gonna happen. Bye.
what's gonna happen tomorrow? Who knows? Yeah, I think that's cool, but it's definitely having some sense of routine.
Yeah.
And have that for running. That's what it's been for me. But I imagine yoga is probably even deeper than that because you're making a routine for not only your body but your mind.
Yes.
You know.
Totally.
I love that. That's good.
Yeah. Getting to know yourself.
I think we got to know ourselves pretty good in this little
I think
podcast.
so too.
Well, let's wrap there.
All right.
Thank you for doing this.
But of course, it is my pleasure.
I hope you'll do it again. That was fun.
I would love to. Anytime.
How do people find you?
AliciaMichilli.com.
Can you please spell that?
Yep, there's lots of vowels in that Italian name. Alicia is like Alicia Keys, Alicia, like the CIA, you know what I'm saying? Then Michilli is Michilli, like my chili, Michilli
Ooh,
with
that's
two
good. I
L's.
have to remember that.
Yes.
So when are the dates now for the Taj Mahal and the Kev thing?
I have a block for July 14th until August 16th.
16th.
Yes.
Awesome. 9 shows so far?
What's that?
9 shows so far?
9 opening, and then I'm singing background vocals for like all of them.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and it's like a 3-week
Great.
run. Yeah.
And those dates are on your website?
Yes.
Are you lying to me?
I may be lying to you. No, I'm pretty sure they're on there.
Well, if they're not on there, we should get them.
And I
on.
shall be making another post about it, so you're welcome.
You love your posts.
I love them. They're my favorites. Social media, hell yeah.
Well, thank you again for doing this.
Oh, of course.
You're going to
Thank
kick
you
ass
for
on the
having
tour.
me. Thanks, man.
Watch this heavy heart of mine turn this water into wine. Light your match and let it glow, so I know my way home. One more game of tic-tac-toe. You be X and I'll be you. Fall in love like dominoes, then I'll come back home. If I can't find you, go get lost in the simple things. Might I remind you, chase your tail and dream those dreams. One more glass to set me free. Forget right past what's in front of me. I'll be fine, they tell me so, 'cause I know my